America has just gone through an annual ritual that's common to many countries, a day of remembrance for soldiers killed in action. The occasion provoked a moment of collective introspection that landed a TV host, Chris Hayes, of the news network MSNBC, in some serious trouble. Hayes questioned the U.S. media's habitual use of a word to describe American soldiers in Iraq and Afghanistan. They are simply called heroes. Media figures seldom raise this kind of issue, one that deals with the terminology used in news coverage, but it's important. The word hero is loaded with implications, not just about the actions of those in uniform, but about the righteousness of the war they are fighting. And what Chris Hayes learned, apart from a few new ways to apologize, is that to many Americans this is not a discussion even worth having. The Listening Post's Marcela Pizarro now on the semantic minefield that U.S. journalists must navigate.
Every year in the last week of May, U.S. news channels devote an entire day to remembrance, honoring America's fallen soldiers.
Memorial Day in America.
We pause now to honor our fellow Americans who served and sacrificed.
Memorial Day is a really special time.
This year, one TV host broke with a pack, and in particular with the media's use of one word.
I feel uncomfortable about the word hero because it seems to me that it is so rhetorically proximate to justifications for more war.
I would almost rather not say hero and come up with a more neutral term.
These wars in Iraq and Afghanistan aren't, in my opinion, I don't think they're righteous wars. That doesn't mean that we have to disrespect the people who are called upon to go and serve.
It's a very valuable discussion on Chris Hayes' show, and I think it was a very tentative, careful one that he attempted to have about a very delicate subject.
I don't want to obviously desecrate or disrespect the memory of anyone that's fallen.
And if you watch the show in its total, you would never come away with the conclusion that he was bashing veterans or bashing uniformed soldiers or bashing active duty military personnel. That's simply not what happened.
Every American soldier killed in war is a fallen hero.
The word hero is thrown about all the time in American public discourse. And when we start applying that term to the military, it all of a sudden becomes very difficult to question the military's actions, because if it's always heroic, their actions are always beyond reproach. And so Chris is opening up a whole question about what does it actually mean to think about using terms that sort of end up inhibiting or preventing military criticism.
Chris Hayes opens up a discussion, but not the one he was hoping for. By challenging the use of one term, he made himself a target of commentators, and not just those on the right.
Could you be more inappropriate on Memorial Day?
When you are courageous enough to go and fight for your country, that's what makes you a hero.
Up with Chris Hayes, I'd say down with Chris Hayes.
They are heroes. End of story.
Within 24 hours, Hayes issued a written statement in which he apologized, and that was just for starters.
Who was I to say who is and isn't a hero? It hardly seems a designation that is mine to deny or even really to confer, which is, in a very clumsy way, what I was trying to say. But I fell short in a crucial moment.
His apology came very quickly, one day, and I would argue, I think, too quickly, and I would argue also it came in response to criticism that I think was entirely unfounded.
This society needs very badly to have a discussion about how to think about America's foreign wars, the way in which the national security state in this country operates, and the way in which the mass communication system operates, is that you are supposed to support the troops even if you oppose the war.
Instead of using his use of questioning of the term heroism to open up a democratic debate about what does it mean for the nation to be at war, what does it mean when we start to really judge these actions on their own merits. I think that the pushback itself was saying that we don't think that this is a conversation worth having.
Veterans have returned from the war.
When the word hero is applied as a blanket term, it diminishes the distinction between soldiers who commit exceptional acts of valor and everyone else in uniform. And in both Iraq and Afghanistan, the media have found themselves reporting abuses by US military personnel, the kind that are not discussed on occasions like Memorial Day. To the US media, Brock McIntosh is a hero. He fought in Iraq and Afghanistan. Since returning to the US, he's given a lot of thought to how the media talk about war. He says the discourse needs to change.
When I signed up for the military, I was supposed to be defending democracy. And in a democracy, the media is supposed to be the fourth branch that is checking the other branches of government and make sure that they're doing the right thing. But they can't do the right thing unless the media is objective and honest and not telling half-truths.
They are heroes because of the way they chose to live their lives.
If you call all soldiers heroes outright without any sort of critical reflection, that's not being honest, and that's being one-sided. And that's not to say that they are or are not heroes, but it's to say that it's a conversation worth having and that someone shouldn't be completely chastised for raising that question.
The US media weren't always like this. Their coverage of Vietnam brought the war into American living rooms in a way that had never been done before. But that was years before 9/11, which, as they say, changed everything.
There was a time when media used to be a little more critical of what the government does. Even during Vietnam, they were critical of war, whereas now they can't be critical of. See, now even I'm tiptoeing because I have to be careful about what I say with the work that I do, because like even in far left media, most of them will not criticize soldiers. They'll say we're against war, but we support troops, or we are against war because we support troops. And so I have to be careful about what I say.
Memorial Day was expanded to honor all American veterans.
I think what has changed is this. Today you have basically talk radio transferred to television, so that you have a whole universe of television programs that have to do with talking heads, people arguing among themselves, basically giving their opinions. So opinion television is really what has changed. And that's why I think these sorts of terms do play a more important role today than they would have during the Vietnam War.
The term hero actually originates as a term, a Greek term meaning demigod, meaning half god. So somebody who's a hero is superhuman. And of course, not only are they superhuman, they're godlike, which again means that they are morally pure. It means that their actions are unimpeachable. It means that they are always doing the right thing. And in fact, to question, a heroic action is almost an immoral thing to do. So if we start calling something heroic, it almost means that we shouldn't be criticizing it. We should just be praising it, commending it, and that's the end of the inquiry. So sometimes I think the term heroism can be used to prevent critical scrutiny about government actions.
And critical scrutiny about the media and its coverage of war.
I cringed when I saw the headline used.
Just ask Chris Hayes. He has the battle scars to prove it.